On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains.
Coming to you straight from San Diego, California. Let's welcome our host, April Mahoney.
All right, so I'm getting some water now before we start our interview, and you were kind enough to pull an oracle card for me. What did you find out? What did you uncover?
April, I swear to God, you can't make this stuff up. All right, the card, Spirit loves to play. The card was Come to the Edge.
See?
I kid you not. See? It was the first Come to the Edge. Come on, baby. Come to the edge with April Mahoney. It's absolutely, it's like, come to the edge, you guys.
Exactly. You know, and it's a blessing because I've had people, again, that have had gifts. I had someone that did dowsing. Have you ever done that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. When I asked her about the show, the rods went crazy. I had a person a professional palm reader. She read over 56,000 palms.
Wow.
And she told me about my show, and she said someone was going to approach me about a television show within 48 hours.
No way.
Yes. So, you know what, Brains? I know that I got a strong faith in my religion and my God. But there is really some method to this madness because stuff like this, like you said, the stuff just doesn't randomly happen. And so what else is not randomly happening is our interview today with Joellen Newman.
Hi, everybody.
Look at that. She's just as cute as she can be. And we are going to talk about all things, some spiritual things, some coaching things, some transformational things, her business. She's a former nurse. Now, I can't tell you how many nurses and medical professionals that I've had here on the edge that have really left that vein of work and moved more into the spiritual and metaphysical. We're going to ask her why. Because they've seen life, they've seen death, they see what medication does, they see what holistic and spiritual work is doing. In addition to that, what we can do to heal ourselves. Right. Okay? So without further ado, okay, my oracle card reader and friend, Joellen Newman. Welcome to.
Thank you, April. Thank you. Yes, and hello, Brains.
Yes, I love it. Thank you.
I love it too.
So tell my Brains all about you, baby.
Okay, well, awesome. Thanks for having me, April. This is awesome. I started out really as an empath, as a child, 5.5 years old. I got a hit that, my father passed away actually at a very young age. When he talked to me before he left, I knew at 5.5 he would never be back. Now, I had no idea what the heck that meant at 5.5, but fast forward 20 years, I'm now a nurse on a cruise ship, and I used to get intuitive hits and messages all the time. And I'm going, what the heck is this? I was clueless, what I call clueless in Seattle, right? And so they kept coming true. And then fast forward another decade or so, I'm no longer a nurse on the cruise ship sailing the high seas, but I'm always around water, right? And I'm a cancer baby. I'm in London. I studied at the College of Psychic Studies, which, I went to them and you have to get entrance and everything. And I said, look, I just sometimes know what's going to happen. They go, no, you can't know that. And I go, okay, you may tell me no, but sometimes that happens. And I don't talk about my business as a psychic. I am intuitive. I'm empathic. So I really sense that energy. But how did I use that in my nursing career? I sensed, I remember vividly an older gentleman coming in and he had heart palpitations. I was a cardiac nurse and he was in arrhythmia, what they call a very irregular heartbeat. And I told the nurses when I left, I said, please keep an eye on this gentleman because I think he's going to cross over tonight. His wife had just passed in the past 2 weeks. And I truly felt in my soul, and those of you who are intuitives and empaths, know what that feeling is, that this man came in to die, not to put anybody out, but he didn't want to die alone, and he came into the hospital. And by the next day when I came back to work, I asked about him and I said, how is he doing? And they said, no, I'm sorry, he passed away. I was not shocked. I was not surprised. It just is an intuition that comes. And so now what I do is I left nursing I never left nursing, but I stopped working clinically and moved into the corporate world. I did business development and I built programs for hospitals, and I would literally send energy to the hospital. This is a healing place, because many people have this perception that the hospitals they have their own impressions, that they're terrible, they're just all about money. They're really not. There's a lot of good people trying to do a lot of good things. So I really wanted to work, and I always worked with physicians. And so I talked to the physicians, said, look, this is what we can do. So I built great business for hospitals that I work with. From there, I managed ERs across the country and built other businesses in surgery centers. And looking at that, especially when I was working, managing ERs across the country. At this time, I'm a vice president in corporate healthcare, and it was unending hours.
Very casually, honey, but that's big cheese, okay? I mean, you were the
It was busy. I mean, literally, I worked with wonderful people. It was a wonderful team. But for me, that was the first time in my life, even with all my career as a nurse and the many different modalities I did, I never was burnt out. I was feeling really burnt out. I said, I got to leave. And I will tell you that I worked with one other company for just 6 months and then left. And I said, you know what am I going to do now? And I remember, earlier years, it's like as I age, as I become a crone, right?
As I
mature.
Yes, it's like a fine piece of filet mignon, honey.
Yes.
Marinade.
Yes, and doesn't that taste yummy? So I really wanted to be the person, like, let me share my experience and my wisdom and my sensitivities as an empath. And so I went back and got certified as a coach. And frankly, even my staff, as the type of administrator that I was really teaching them. I don't like to persecute somebody. Oh, you did this wrong. You're on, this and that. It's really all about how do you lift people up and really encourage them. And I got the sweetest note from one girl. I couldn't have been better without a great coach. And that was as a VP. And so that's what I did. I went into coaching. But because of my clinical background, my coaching really became different. I really like to work with the whole brain, which means left brain, very logical, very analytical. We're in a left brain world, right? It's like, oh, Joellen, don't talk to me about the woo-woo stuff. Hey, guess what? Your intuition, whatever you want to call it, your gut instinct, that's your right brain. That's saying, okay, pay attention. But the left brain, I start there, but I really use tools in my coaching business that are right brain, which brought me.
How is this received with executives? Because, they are very, they're very analytical. They're very fact-based. You're dealing with physicians that are science-based and they deal with facts. So how do you incorporate this and really get them to buy in to what you're doing?
Well, when I work with a corporation, if I'm, I might go in very left brain and say, look, let's look at a strategic plan, or maybe you've got a communication issue going on with staff and you want to work with the passive aggressive communicator, or you want to work with the angry communicator. I will go in and give them very left brain process tools, but at the end, I'm going to say, would you be open? You don't have to believe this, but let's play a game. And so, for example, if it's a strategic session, I'm going to say, we're going to work with 3 chairs. Okay. 1 chair is where your company is at right now. This is what you're doing. Now let's go in, everybody shift, go into another chair. And this is the chair that is your biggest issue in business. And that where you feel invalidated, or you feel marginalized, or you feel like you're not getting the ROI that you need and want to really thrive, especially for little entrepreneurs, like they're scared to death. Where am I going to get my next client, right? So what's that feel like? Okay. And really taking a look at the goblin side. Is that reality? Is that real? Or is that in your brain? Is that your perception? Are those your thoughts that are feeding what I call, which wolf are you feeding? Are you feeding that wolf? Now, and I'm doing this very quickly because of time, but then taking them, all right, let's shift again and let's go into the next chair. Now, this chair is your vision multiplied on steroids. Everything's achieved. All right, you've gotten the ROI, you've gotten the clients, you've gotten the communication that is in, just at peace and sharing with each other in your group or your team, or things like that. What's the ideal that you're searching for? Just feel that those results and how happy you are. Feel yourself having a glass of champagne, or feel yourself like, wow, all of that baggage on your shoulders is gone. I just did it, right? Who did you need to become to get there? Who is that person? What is that person now doing to you're living in this success? So that's a very right brain exercise.
Exactly. And so you receive great success. But
oh my gosh.
Do you pull out oracle cards?
It depends. It depends. I have to measure the environment. So I used to teach a program. I'm a certified trainer with Infinite Possibilities, and Mike Dooley. And his brother, Andy Dooley, had a quote which I love to share. So can I share that with the group here?
Absolutely.
Okay. We don't rise to the level of our dreams. We fall to the level of the story we tell ourselves. Now, just think about that.
That's powerful.
Isn't it? And that's by Andy Dooley. And if we're not succeeding, it's like, oh, it's because of this, this, and this, the mind chatter. So I might bring in oracle cards and say, look, you may not believe in this. You may not have ever been, interacted with an oracle card. And first of all, what the heck is an oracle card, right?
Right. That's what I was going to ask you. That was my lead-in. Perfect segue. What is an oracle card? And then I want you to explain what the one is that you pulled for me in the beginning.
Oh, I love it. Okay. All right. So really, oracle cards are really seeking out someone with higher knowledge. Now, if you're a very spiritual person, that could be God, goddess, source, all that is, whatever you call your deity. Or it can be your intellect. I mean, I work with atheists as well. This is an open book, but the oracle is really going within and offering you an answer that you're just not getting out of your logical ego brain. You're searching beyond yourself, okay? So, or you're searching to God or goddess, beyond yourself for that answer. Now, in other words, they could be a divinity tool, all right? So if you believe in a higher power, then that's a divinity tool. Never, ever, ever does it give a negative message, ever. It's only here to help.
Okay,
so,
wait. Let me stop here. Okay, what is the difference between an oracle card or a tarot card or a deck of cards? What's the difference?
Okay, so it's a great question. So
I want to see them. I want you to be sure to put a couple up so we can see them as well.
Okay, all right. So let me give you an example. This is an oracle deck. This is a book by Colette Baron Reed.
Move it over because we got some glare.
Okay, how's that?
Yeah, hold it.
Better?
Okay, that's perfect.
Okay, so you can see it's a little bit worn. Colette is a certified oraculist. She's a fantastic, very intelligent woman. She's got a school for Oracle School, but I trained under her. I trained under Colette for a year, and I go back because you up-level your skills, right? So oracles are really an opportunity to take a look at, so this is the back side of her oracle deck. And then just to give you an example, this is front side. These have words on them, exchanging gifts and yin. They have, and oracles or even tarot. So like I'll pull out a deck here, say the Archangel Power Tarot deck. Okay, this is an old one by Doreen Virtue when she was doing it, but really Radley Valentine does these now. So, and these are just tarot decks, and the tarot is very methodical. It's got more cards. It's a deck of 68 cards, and each card is ascribed a meaning. So you'll find that with oracle cards more so from the author. And so you can find some oracle cards that really don't resonate with you, that seem more shallow. I find Colette Baron-Reid's decks incredibly deeply spiritual. And so those resonate with me. Although I use a different set of oracle cards for business at times. So there's so many opportunities to look, but oracle cards and tarot cards are both divinity tools, which means they're assigned a meaning that that you can take away from. Now, what's really interesting about oracles, let me give you a story, is back in 479 BC, 480 BC, the Persians invaded the Greeks. And so a few years later, they learned that they were going to come back, invade them again. And so at that time, the Greeks, the Athenians, went to the Oracle of Delphi and said, what are we going to do? How are we going to fight this battle? We're going to be creamed, right? We're not going to have a country left. And so they consulted the Oracle at Delphi, and the Oracle at Delphi said, the wooden wall will save your children. Well, sometimes oracles give you a very ambiguous message, but it allows you, either the interpreter, if you have a reader, me, I do readings as well as collaboration, but the interpretation of that allows the person to say, what does that mean? Now, the Athenians first thought, okay, we're going to build a wooden wall. But then they said, no, oracles are meant to be a bit ambiguous so that you can dig deeper within your soul and say, what does this mean? So the Athenians went back and said, well, maybe that means the wooden hull of the ships. We don't fight by land, we fight by sea. And as a result, that's what the Greeks did. They fought by sea and they fought off the Persians. And of course, they won that battle. They won the war. So that's a well-known, story about the Oracle at Delphi. And I think what's really interesting is when I consult an oracle, especially with left brain people, I'll say, would you be receptive if I chose this tool? Not to frighten you. It's simply, I ask you to have an open mind so that you can look beyond and perhaps get a different answer to an age-old problem.
So answer my question. What does that card mean for me?
All right. So this card.
Okay, wait. Hold it there just for a second so I can. Okay, it says, come to the edge, brains. You see that? Come home. All right.
I have to tell you, it was hysterical. So when I approached the Oracle, I said, all right, what does April need to know about, what does April need to know today? And of course, I'm collaborating with you today. I'm your guest. I'm participating. So I shuffled quite a bit. I said, let me, and so then I can feel the cards, but I chose the top card today, and it says come to the edge. So I thought, oh my God, this is spirit saying, I see what you're doing. You're on the edge with April Mahoney. So, but for you, this means this would, and it was an upright, it says take more risks. Take more risks, April. Okay. Don't be afraid. You're on the edge and keep going. And so that's really, spirit has your back. You've got wind behind your back, you've got spirit at your back, and just keep going. All right. If you think you're done, nope, push that envelope even further. Keep going.
I do. I've been doing so many things, and so many things have been falling into my lap. And you spoke repeatedly about the ego. And a lot of people don't know. Well, they do know this because I've done a couple shows on it. But I work with an ego coach. She's incredible. And she has taught me how to temper it, how to honor it, how to give it that space, that bandwidth, how to be open to the downloads, to feed the ego. So there is a lot to this, brains. This is science, okay? Right. We're not talking about spirituality, okay? Right. I want you to love your God. And if this is against your religious doctrine, we honor that too.
Absolutely.
Nobody's trying to force you to do anything, but I'm trying to introduce you to everything.
Right,
okay?
Right.
And spirituality is different than a religious doctrine. And you just have to figure out how this works for you. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because there's a lot of truth to this. This has been around since centuries.
Yes, it has.
This is age-old wisdom. So
Right.
with this wisdom and with these oracle cards, what is your why? What are you looking to really achieve on a global perspective with the world, with this, not just with your individual clients, but really, what are you looking to pour into the world organically and watch blossom, besides those beautiful orchids behind you?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I will tell you that every client that I have, every interaction that I have with them, I know I am a ripple effect out to the world. All right. So let's look at it this way. Let's look at just energy. All right. When you wake up in the morning or something's happened during the day and you're just in a really crappy mood. All right. And you get pissed off and it's like, I just want to hit somebody or get out of my way. And you're just blowing them off, or your boyfriend's broken up with you and you're devastated, or, things like that. Or you just lost a big account that was millions of dollars. It's like, oh my God, how am I going to go back and tell my boss I screwed up? I lost this account. That person can make a choice, sometimes unbeknownst to them, but it's a choice to go out and be that negative person to the next person in line. But in my coaching, if I can help shift their brain and say, there's a different way to look at things, because I believe that it's always perfect. It's always perfect. Now, that may sound very strange to a lot of people, but at the end of the day, you learn from it, you make things better, and you grow to a higher level. We're on this conical spire. We're growing to a higher level. So even when crap happens, like when shit happens, all right, you're growing from that mistake or that knowledge. It's like, so you just want to make sure it doesn't stick to you, so it continues to drop mud and crap on everybody else. You want to shake it off and say, what's next? What do I do next? And frankly, that's what leaders do. So for me, I help every single person shift their mindset from one perspective to say, let's look at it this way. And the more people I can interact with, the better off that message gets out into the world. So it doesn't mean that I have to be out into the world like a Tony Robbins or any, maybe, but it doesn't have to get me there. I just need to do what I do so that my impact, literally the value of my impact, shifts someone else's energy so that they become and are a ripple effect to energy that creates value and sustenance to every other person that they interact with. It's teaching them those tools. How do I shift this negative energy into something that is really effective and productive? Because frankly, I go back to this phrase, which wolf are you feeding?
Right.
And so what are you going to give oxygen to? Are you going to give oxygen to something that is really disheartening and inflaming your emotions? Well, you can. I mean, certainly we see that in politics, right? We see that right now. But we have a choice.
Politics is what I call it. Politics.
But we have a choice. We have do I want to stay in this, or do I want to find what keeps us together? Right. I do. I just said that to somebody this week. I want to find what keeps us, common, our commonalities, our beautiful things that we put together for this great country. So I do that with your business. All right, so you've got a competitor that's really eating you alive. What are they doing right that now you want to mimic, but in your voice, in your way?
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Exactly.
So what are some of the things? I want to ask you a couple quick random questions. What are the things outside of your work, outside of your deliverable, what you do for others, that bring you the ultimate joy?
Gosh. Well, I love to donate to Wounded Warriors. My stepson is a big proponent for Wounded Warriors, raised a lot of money for them. I work with Wounded Warriors. I work with the ASPCA. I've got a pup who's a Sheltie, who's an amazing dog. So I really work with those two organizations, and also the homeless. So it's really getting out there and making sure whatever I can do physically to say, here's my energy, here's my voice, here's my message, because we're really not separate. We really are, just this far apart. We have this linear image in our mind that, oh no, they're 1,000 miles away from me.
Right.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Right.
They're not.
We're all energy. We're all matter. So let me ask you, what is some of your personal challenges? Because everything is not a bed of roses. I mean,
oh gosh, no.
We all kind of go through that. So we know what brings us joy, but what is it that brings you, some challenges in your life?
Well, I think the biggest thing is always, we fall back on some old childhood, beliefs. It's like, am I good enough? Can I do this? Can I step out of my comfort zone? Oh my God, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. So I just tend to procrastinate a little bit, or then I get real and I get back to centered. And that's when I pull an oracle card. I do that every single day. And obviously I'm trained in doing it, but I have to meditate and go back within and say, okay, is that real? Can I really not do that? Or I just don't know how to do it right now. Oh, I'm in the process of learning. So my biggest issue, and I will tell you, I've always had a weight issue, or at least I perceived, see, I catch my words.
Right.
I perceive myself to have a weight issue, right? No matter what weight I'm at, right? So how crazy is that? So I've now begun to say, you know what? I can lose weight. I can.
Right.
I don't have to be older and be one of the women that's like, oh, I'm older, I can't lose weight. No, well, that's your choice, but I can. So it's really looking at myself. What words am I using? Where is that coming up? And I've made it a pattern. If I've thought it long enough, it's become a habit, and that habit is now a pattern. Absolutely. So I have to shift that pattern little by little. And the way I do that is I stay present. It's like, all right, what do I need to do today? And I literally breakfast, lunch, snacks, I stay present. Right. And then I can shift those goblins. That is what fed me as a child, literally and figuratively. Like, oh, I'm fat. I mean, right.
Well, it's all about neuro-linguistic programming. It's
absolutely
all about the conversation that you have in your head. And what it is that's the most important conversation that you can have outside of the one we just had here on the Edge Brains with Jo Ellen Newman. She's awesome sauce. If you are looking to, change some things, and that's what transformation means. It's not to turn you into a frog, okay? But it is to help you level up. It's to help you and guide you as you change in your life. That's what we have to do. We are like caterpillars. We must turn into butterflies and flap our wings. And this is a great way to do it. Please, Jo Ellen, please tell my brains how to get in contact with you if they have some corporate work they want to do, or some one-on-one.
Absolutely. Just email me at tytcoachjo@gmail.com. It's an easy, Gmail. Just email me. And if you get on my mailing list, I'm in the process of finishing a course, an e-course. Yes, you can. And it's called Manifesting Abundance. But yes, you can.
Yes,
Manifesting Abundance. Yes.
And you can do everything and learn almost everything right here on the edge. Yep. Okay? That's right. On the edge, because again, we're bringing you the best and the brightest people that are wanting to pour into you and see something beautiful organically grow, like those orchids in the background.
Yes.
Okay? And this is a wonderful conversation. It's very free. It's very relaxing. And it also comes from a trained medical professional. So this is not somebody that's just random off the street or what people think are gypsies. This is a person that has been trained and has seen both sides. Thank you so much again, Jo Ellen, for being here on the Edge. Please come back. Those oracle cards are pretty interesting.
Yes.
I love it when my guests pull one for me, and You know, either it confirms, denies, or makes me think.
I love it. Thank you, April.
All right. Bye, brains. Have a great day. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.